I used to love watching her on stage. I would become hypnotized by how her soft lips blew sweet melodies into the tip of that microphone. I remember being so jealous of that inanimate object. Why couldn't I be the one who soaked up her voice and then shared it with the rest of the world? She was my midnight lover. I would sit, caressing a finished beer, while the sadness in her song stole me to distant bedrooms where she lay on wet sheets, which left her feeling cheated by yet another brother who promised to stay with her forever, but left nothing but a used condom on the pile she already had, and if she was lucky, taxi fare home. Otherwise, she would walk home alone, clutching her empty belly, singing lullabies to a child she never got to hold. She was my midnight lover. This was the extent of our infidelity, an affair between her words and my soul. Partially because I could never build up the courage to approach her after she mesmerized my entire being. Mostly because I could never compete with the pinstripe-suited businessmen who clamored for her attention after she glamored them with the allure of her magic. They would buy her drinks, take her home, then raid her for her treasures. On stage, she would smile, but her voice could never lie to me. The cavern where her wealth was hidden was running dry. Slowly, the echoes of strange men invaded her song as she lost herself to them. Their harmonies were a disease to the voice I had so loved. Her splendor began to decay, and I could feel her loneliness deep inside where her soul used to reside. Her song reminded me of a lioness that had been cast from her pack, and she spent the rest of her life wandering the Serengeti alone, casting solitary roars to the moon, for they shared each other's loneliness. She was my midnight lover, and like the moon, she began to disappear until there was nothing left but a crescent-shaped smile floating sickly on her stage. I loved you then, and I love you now, I wanted to tell her, but it is said that every time you make love, you give over a part of your soul. She had no more soul left to give. I walked her home in the rain and sung her lullabies as the red of her dress dripped off into the gutters. When we arrived at her doorstep, she was already asleep. The rain or her tears had left mascara meandering down her cheek. I tucked her in and left before her demon started a tugging at her sheets. When I went to listen to her again, the stage was empty. The gods had wrapped her in crimson cloth and stolen her for themselves. I sat beneath a full moon and listened to the silence, and for a brief moment, I thought I heard the sweetest, softest roar. I hoped the lioness had found her home. At midnight, her voice weighs heavy in the air, and her song can be heard by those who carry the pieces of her soul. She was my midnight lover.